Good morning, top producers. Velko Chief here, the professional problem solver, coming to you live from Velko Academy. And today, we are starting a new show. The Professional Problem Solver Show starts every morning at 8 a.m. sharp here at the Professional Problem Solvers Group. Actually, the Problem Solvers Group. My goal for this group is to make it one of the largest groups on Facebook. Everyone is welcome in this group. We're discussing different life skills, different problems, different solutions, and it will be a great compliment if you invite your friends, family, or business associates to this group. I'm going to be jumping here every morning at 8 a.m. and sharing with you solutions to problems, life skills, sales skills, or marketing skills. I'm going to try to rotate different topics, different themes, and it's going to be interesting. I'd love for you to be part of this and ask questions and share comments and share your opinions and concerns. Today's topic is how to take feedback and how to accept constructive criticism. Um, I'm not gonna keep you for a long time. I'm planning on making these shows no longer than 30 minutes. I need to be going back to work at any point after 8:30, so I can't stay for too long. But hopefully, we can start this tradition and meet here every morning at 8 and discuss important solutions to important problems. Let's talk about criticism for a second. I am not a big fan of criticism. I don't think criticism works for everyone. I think that many people criticize with good intentions, but also many people criticize to put other people down. Criticism works on a very high level, and it's very efficient when it's used with top producers. It works as fuel for top producers, or between competitors, or between people that are operating at a high level. So criticism would work if you remind of someone's full potential when they've already proven themselves, and it would really light up their fire. But it wouldn't work for a beginner or somebody who is an average person, and it would hurt their feelings. It would mess up their game, or whatever you want to call it. So I want to give you some perspective today, some tips, if you may, on how to take feedback. Period. How to accept criticism and how to make it work for you, regardless of what level you're performing at. It's not easy to accept constructive criticism from anyone, especially in the workplace, without feeling negative about it, or about the performance of the person who is giving you the feedback, without comparing yourself to that person, and especially when you get negative feedback or constructive criticism at the workplace. It's not easy because you always make it personal. You always try to associate, why is this person specifically giving me that feedback? And one of the things that we have to be aware of is, just like in cars, as human beings, regardless of what level we operate at, we have blind spots. We have blind spots. We don't see some flaws, and it's a great gift for someone to be direct with you and to share a blind spot with you, because sometimes it could save you from crashing, from going into someone else's lane and causing an accident. So blind spots are extremely helpful to recognize. It's just part of self-awareness. It's part of who we are, and we need to know who we are in our full capacity, not just the positive things about us, not just our strengths, but we also need to know what our weaknesses are, and at least be aware of them. If we're going to work on them, fine, but if we don't, we need to be aware of them. So blind spots are extremely important for us to know, and some of those colleagues or co-workers or employers would share with us what blind spots we have. So any type of criticism is good for us. If we just change our perspective on criticism, we would realize that there's a reason why people are sharing their opinion with us. Sometimes it's not specifically to put us down, but to really help us. For example, if someone calls you an asshole and you react with "I'm not an asshole," it's there's a reason why you were called asshole. Sometimes it's good to take a step back and figure out, did I do anything to cause that reaction from that person, and apply empathy in that moment. But I'm going to give you better examples. When we feel threatened at work, it often causes us to feel targeted, and we feel that we put ourselves in a victim mode, and we feel that we're the target. And we sometimes reach out for a flight or fight response, which is not always the best decision. And many times it's a premature decision. Sometimes we need to step back and analyze the situations before we go in that mode. So there are heated battles at work sometimes. During those heated battles, some coworkers might say something that is not nice, something that they may regret, something that they may want to apologize later. And that's why there's no, where the workplace or the family, it's not a place to be offended by, because you got to deal with these people, you got to talk to these people on daily, and sometimes you got to spend many hours with them weekly, and you got to work with them for many many years. So in the heat of the moment, many of us can just react offensively. That's just normal human reaction, right? But valuing the constructive criticism at that point that you receive can be important to growing as an employee or as a person. So in those moments, it's important for us, and it's super super hard to be aware and to just realize, hey, let me take this criticism in a little bit more positive way, and let me see if I can do something to work on that. So what we need to do in that situation, in that moment, is we need to fight with our habits. We need to fight against our defensive habits, because when we get defensive, not only we miss the mark, not only we don't accept that criticism, and we don't accept it in a positive way so we could change ourselves, but we also could potentially ruin a good relationship. um, so when you know that somebody is approaching you for some criticism, just try not to react immediately. Okay. um, you could stop your reaction. You have about 1 second to think, and everybody is aware of that 1 second before you freak out, before you blow up. You have 1 second where you have to make a decision. It's almost like a left or right turn, and sometimes you choose to step back when you're smart and just be calm and collected and accept it. And sometimes you just choose to defend yourself. And when you defend yourself immediately, everything is lost. You can't take the feedback. You get into an argument, and everything is lost. So a negative reaction to somebody approaching you with feedback may seem someone insignificant at that moment, because you're defending yourself. So you feel that, hey, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But staying calm and can make a world of difference at this point. It will improve your relationship with that person, number one. If they were wrong and they were doing it for the sake of just to piss you off or to offend you, they would definitely feel incredibly um, guilty, probably, if you're calm and if they're genuinely nice people. Even if they're not, it wouldn't work because you were calm and collected. So it's a win-win situation not to defend yourself in a moment when you're being criticized. It's always a win-win situation. Just think about it. Imagine the moment when you're being criticized, and if you just stand there and and you're very calm and you accept in it, it's a win for both parties. A quick mistake with facial expression. There are a few things that we can't fake. Our facial expressions, our reactions, we can't fake. And one of the best TV shows that even FBI is learning from, it's called Lie to Me. It's about body language and micro impressions. It's super awesome show. You definitely gotta check it out, with Tim Roth. So in that show, they explain how micro impressions are extremely hard to fake, almost impossible to fake or to control. So sometimes you could react with a facial expression, and you could think that you're calm, but you're not really calm because your facial expression would show that. So a quick, you know, facial expression could ruin that experience as well. So make sure you have maybe not a smile, but be aware of your facial expressions as you're receiving that feedback. Good morning, Melissa. How are you, young lady? The next thing I want to share with you is that when you are receiving feedback for your work or behavior, you got to assume that the person is giving the feedback with good intentions. If you just assume that, if this is your norm and you know for a fact that, hey, this person doesn't mean anything negative, he or she wants me to be better, he or she wants me to grow. So if you just assume, regardless of who's giving you the feedback, even if you know that somebody hasn't had the best relationship with you, if you just assume, hey, maybe this time, this specific time while I'm receiving this feedback, that person really wants me to grow and has a positive intention, then it would sound like a lesson, like something that you need to learn, right? So if you're the type of person that regularly feels targeted and regularly has that victim mentality, once when a coworker or employer provides that feedback to you, just give them the benefit of the doubt. Just pretend that they mean in a positive way, that they mean it in a way that will develop your skill set, and it will help you grow. So remember that the average coworker is just not coming to threaten your job or threaten some punitive action against you. They're just only working to help you get better, to help the whole team, to improve the environment, and to do something that it more efficiently, in a more efficient way. The average coworker doesn't want to get you in trouble. The average coworker just wants the process to go smoother. So that's why they might give you some feedback. A lot of times the senior employees could give you positive feedback, and just because of the relationship you have with them, you may not accept it. But if you just pretend for a second, that's my suggestion. Just pretend for a second. Hey, even though we don't get along, I'm going to pretend that this person means the best for me, and I'm going to take this feedback as a good advice, right? So people who approach you at work with feedback, with criticism, they often come to you with good intentions, really. Like, I think that 80-90% of the times they really come with good intentions. That's why I'm asking you to pretend. And just getting defensive at that point could lead to problems at work, and problems with relationships. Just being defensive is not going to help the relationship. So again, try to react in a positive manner, in a calm manner. So don't burn bridge with a coworker or a family member over feedback, over criticism. Okay. A lot of times this would be a great advice. Who else is in here? Let me know. I see some comments. I don't see this person's name, and I'm going to investigate that later. Um, so let's talk about when we feel targeted. If we feel targeted, we can get stuck in a very bad cycle. And if we feel targeted at work or in our family, we could really get depressed, and we could make we could make each other feel like we're not good enough if we don't accept that criticism properly, if we don't accept that feedback properly. So if we believe that and we don't take any action, that could lead to depression, that could lead to self sabotage. So we definitely need to be aware, but we also need to take some action steps to make some changes, right? Remember that you are worthy and you're resourceful, and there's no reason to feel depressed about anything. So if you're given a small amount of bad feedback on your work or anything, that's not a reason for you to be down on yourself, because you have a chance to change. You have a chance to change your mind. And once when you change your mind, the whole world changes. The perception of the world changes. And then so many opportunities arise when you change your mind, when you change your mindset. So the reason why I suggest you to assume that the person who's giving you the feedback has good intentions is because 90% of the time that's the case. Change your thinking, change your mind, change your focus. And if you have been, phoning things in your job for several years, you need to accept that a coworker may come to you with some feedback on your job performance. That is going to happen, and you gotta definitely expect that from your employer. If your employer doesn't come and give you constructive criticism and doesn't give you positive or negative feedback or any type of feedback, you need to be concerned about your job. If your employer is ignoring you and doesn't give you any feedback, that's bad news. So if you don't get any feedback, period, go and ask your employer for feedback. And you got to expect that some of your coworkers will also offer you feedback at some point of your career, right? So if you're able to refocus your thinking and have confidence in your work, knowing that you're trying your best, you can meet feedback as a challenge to improve for the future. Okay. And it's not easy to refocus this thinking, but when you go into your workplace, just feel like you can give it your all each day. Just give it your best each day, and you'll be able to accept feedback so much better, because once when you track your performance, when you go with the mindset, I'm going to do my best today, uh, it will be so easy to accept feedback. It wouldn't be as hard. So if you're able to make sure that you maintain better relationships because of the way you accept feedback, you receive less feedback, and it will be less negative feedback. It will be mostly positive feedback. So the more you train your muscle to accept feedback, period, the less negative feedback you're going to receive, the more positive feedback you're going to receive. So accepting feedback, accepting criticism, period, is good for you. And the more you do it in a proper way, the better the feedback gets. All right. So I'm going to plug in the charger for my laptop, and I got a couple more points to make, and we'll be moving. Um, we'll be moving along with our days. How are you, everyone? Who else is in here? Let me know if you like what we're talking about, what your opinion is on this constructive criticism thing, and what do you think about being able to accept feedback and to take it properly? What's your opinion? Share with me in the comments if you like that. And all right, we are plugged in. Excuse me for that lack of preparation here. So change your thinking, refocus, change your mind, and open yourself to accept positive feedback or negative feedback, whatever feedback it is, right? So here's a very important point, and for those of you that stick around, or for those of you that are watching it on replay, this is the most important point of my message. And this is very much the solution of the problem with accepting feedback and accepting constructive criticism, right? So many people are very reward or praise driven, right? Many people love recognition. I was one of them. When I sold cars, I needed only to be number one. And if we go on the Saturday meeting, like this was my motivation. If I was number one on the board, that's it. I don't need any cash bonus. And when we go to the Saturday morning meeting, if my boss say a couple of nice things, gives me as an example, that meant the world to me. So if they tell me good job, great job, I was super happy about that. When they gave me negative feedback, I did not take it very well, right? I was immature in the way I accepted criticism, and that's why I'm sharing this with you, because it made a world of difference for me when I started learning from feedback and when I started taking action. So don't expect praise and appreciation at the workplace. If you don't expect it and it happens, it's three times better, or maybe 300 times better, depending on the degree of recognition you get. But if you don't expect it, it's so much better. And if you expect it all the time, when you get it, it's never enough. It's not good enough, right? So don't expect, just remove it from your mind. Don't expect any praise or appreciation. Don't expect somebody to pat you on the shoulder. Just go to work every day, give it your best, but don't expect anything, right? So many people are just so praise driven, rewards driven, appreciation driven, and recognition driven. And they're like, man, I'm busting my ass. I'm working all these hours. I'm giving so much more, and I'm doing so much extra and so much more than I was asked for. And do it anyways. Do it for you. And eventually, when you get the recognition, it will be better than the recognition you demanded. I promise you. People are watching. People are observing your performance. People are watching, especially the people who are paying you. Now that I'm a business owner, I can tell you that they're watching every step. They want to know if their money are spent properly, right? So your employers are watching you. Don't think that they're not seeing your extra effort. Just don't expect appreciation. Don't expect recognition. And once when it arrives, it will be 100 times sweeter. So if you're the type of person that regularly expects that at work, there's a chance that you may end up, you know, skirting by skirting by doing the bare minimum. I It happened to me for a very short period of time, and it's counterintuitive, it's counterproductive, it's stupid to do. So if you expect appreciation and rewards and they don't arrive, sometimes you could start working against yourself, and you can say, hey, if I don't get paid for my extra work, or if I don't get even recognized, if nobody even says, hey, thanks for the extra effort, why should I do it? And why should I try to be the best? And then you go back to being average, and the force of average pulls you right back in. And you don't go for the extra effort, you don't go for the extra mile anymore. And the fact that you're performing at bare minimum is moving away from your real identity, and it's a lose it's not a win situation for everyone. It's the opposite. Everyone is losing. You lose more than anyone, right? More than your employer, when you decide to do the bare minimum because no one is recognizing your extra effort. It's just counterproductive. Don't do it. So most of the time in the workplace specifically, you will not be rewarded for just doing your job. Just remember that. Just doing your job is not good enough for you to be rewarded. I remember that as a waiter and a bartender, I learned, good morning, I learned that tips, the acronym tips, means to improve proper service. That means you don't get a tip unless you do something extra, unless you improve the proper service. To improve proper service. So if you just hand somebody their food, if you just take somebody's order and you don't do anything extraordinary, you don't get a tip. This is the this was the mindset. So Think about that, right? If you're just doing your job and you're a good employee and you're following the job description and you show up on time and you do all that, don't expect to be rewarded for that. That's what the salary is for. That's what the commission is for, right? That's why you're getting paid. Even though there's other employees who don't show up on time, who don't do their job, who don't follow the job description as good as you are, that's not a reason for you to be rewarded for just following the basic, you know, duties that you are required to do. So most of the time in the workplace, you will not be rewarded for just doing your job. There's no reason you expect ongoing praise and appreciation just for filling your job description. Okay, this doesn't mandate that your coworkers need to provide you with constant appreciation either, because you got them covered, right? So think about that. And finally, I want to make my last point, and I'll let you guys go on with your day. And I'll meet you again tomorrow at 8 a.m. 8 a.m. tomorrow. So make sure you invite all your friends, family, and business associates to this group. This would be the highest compliment I could receive. Let's grow this group. Let's make this group, you know, thousands, millions of people, and let's offer solutions to major problems in life free of charge. How great that is. How great that is that we can just offer people great information for free. So, my final point that I want to make on taking feedback and accepting constructive criticism is appreciate the feedback. Appreciate the feedback. Just like you need to appreciate the adversity in your life because it gives you the best lessons. Feedback will give you the best lessons as well. So appreciate it every time when it arrives. Be thankful for the feedback and saying thank you and appreciate the time that somebody took to share their thoughts can be a meaningful expression after somebody has come to you with some feedback that could really improve the relationship with that person. So if you appreciate it, if it's a constructive criticism, if it's something that it's hard for the person giving you the feedback to do, and and you actually say thank you for that, man, this would give such a huge relief to the person offering feedback, and this would improve your relationship so much because that person now would experience that feeling, and it would just completely change the opinion of that person about you because of your positive reaction. So imagine you have a constructive criticism, what most people would say a negative feedback, and you have a positive reaction. Wow, that's going to change things around so fast in your favor, in your corner. Because listen, the difference between children and adults is when people accept full responsibility for who they are, for what they do, and for the results that they have achieved and arrived at. Every time when you blame somebody else, when you're complaining about things that you have full control over, or when you have excuses for things that you also have full control over, and you're still a child. It doesn't matter what age you're in. You could be 60, 70, 80, 90 years old. If you're complaining about things that don't matter, if you are uh, blaming others for the lack of success you have in your life, or for the negative things that happen in your life, for the adversity of your life, if you're constantly using excuses for things that you must show up, then you're still a child. Unfortunately, you're still a child because children, they can complain, they can use excuses, they depend on us. They could sometimes blame their parents because it's their parents' responsibility to take care of them. But adults, once when you're 30, 40, 50 years old and you're still complaining like a little kid and you're still using excuses and blaming others for your misfortunes, you're still a kid. So you know being able to accept feedback and take full responsibility makes you an adult. So if somebody has constructive criticism and you say thank you very much, and I will take that and I will work on it, and I will grow with that, and I will do everything in my power to never let this happen again, then you really are taking responsibility. You own your problem, and no one now can use that against you. What I just said was very important part, a very important point that I was trying to make. So if you can just take that from my message today, own your problem, own your shit, be responsible, take responsibility for whatever feedback you're receiving, and I promise you it's going to have positive reaction, not only in you but also in the person giving you the feedback. So if they're ultimately trying to make your job better or improve on your abilities, it should be appreciated and acknowledged, because negative feedback is often coming from somebody that wants to see you improve and grow. Remember that someone noticing you in the workplace does not have to have negative connotation, and it can certainly, be appreciated and, of course, deconstructed. So you can find harmony in improvements, so much harmony in improvements. Just focus on improving yourself, constantly changing to a better version of you. Be sure to follow these tips if you would like to improve, if you would like to grow, and take feedback in a more positive light. Hey, it was a pleasure for me to talk to you and share with you my opinion on constructive criticism and taking feedback. And I'd love to see you again tomorrow at 8 a.m. We're going to be discussing a different topic. It's a secret for now, but I might share it with you. So if you're a member of the group, obviously you are. If you're watching this, I want to ask you again, please invite some friends, family, and business associates, so we can grow this group. And if you would like to share some of your expertise, you could definitely join me as a guest on the show, or we can have a specific presentation. So that's why I created the group, to connect with you, to learn from you, and to also be able to pass on everything that I have. Hey, it's been a pleasure. Make it a great day, and be the best version of you today.